Hey everyone, welcome back. We got 6 new games for September for Amazon Gaming, and we are continuing with the puzzles and point and click, so let's get started. First up, we have Secret Files 2, which came out in 2009, and yes, this was 3 years later than the Secret Files we got last month. So this is another point and click adventure game. Metacritic score is 64. Looking at about $10 normally with 9 hours of gameplay. And as I mentioned, we got the first one last month, so we get to continue the story. This one does have a nice cut, so if you never played the first one, you can continue with this one. Nina's on a cruise ship, and you find this whole apocalypse thing is happening, and things start getting weird, and we have a mystery to solve again. We saw some improvements over the first game. The first game, the bottom bar is kind of oldish looking, where they updated that style. Things were a little smoother. They added a little more animation with people talking, so you saw a lot of improvement over here. What was weird is Nina still gets hit in the head a lot. The first game you kind of had that happen, and the second game that continues. So it's weird. The reason I did kind of like these point and click ones from them is they made it a little more simpler. You could highlight the area to see everything you interact with. And it wasn't a whole lot of backtracking. It was kind of more contained stuff in this one, I felt. So it felt a lot more to the moment. I'm not trying to remember to grab this random little piece on the ground. And the story here is a little bit better. I wasn't a big fan of the Secret Files 1, but it did improve here, but still not the biggest grab to me. And overall, I would say not a download again. The pros here is if you did get the last month, the first one, you get the second one for free, so you can continue playing. And so if you really liked it, you have that game. The con here is I think it really would do better as the mobile Switch games, which it is out for about $4. And I find that a nice medium for this, because I didn't feel like it's an overly long game, and it's very segmented. You could break it up. So I think mobile would be the best fit here. Next up, Sam & Max Hit the Road, a game from 1993. Yes, we got another old point-and-click game. Most people consider this like the 7th top point-and-click game of all time. So another big hit. We had Monkey Island and Indiana Jones, and now we get Sam & Max. Normally look at 6 hours of gameplay for $6. And if you're not familiar with Sam & Max, it's a dog detective with the rabbit sidekick. And it's a very comedic game and entertaining, kind of breaks the fourth wall. And I actually enjoyed the Telltale versions of these a lot. Basic story here is you're looking for a missing Bigfoot from a carnival. And obviously this sounds hilarious, and it is, and a lot of jokes. For 93, the controls are a little weird, like you get the 93 feel, but this was when they were starting to make things simpler. If you remember Indiana Jones, you had to click like the verb you wanted to do to the item, where here you can right click to cycle through, and they're just more simpler. It's like look, grab, use. So they simplified it, and this is when I started kind of liking point and click games. And they made it interesting, but you have a lot of the 90s point and click problems of these hidden things. For example, when you start the office, you have to use the hand to grab money out the mouse hole because you need money. And if you continued, you'll hit a point where you don't have money, and you would have to backtrack here. So it's that whole backtracking and figuring out and clicking everywhere to find things. They do have a little help system, so you're starting to see the convenience that we started seeing later in the years with point and click, but still relatively old in that aspect. And overall, even though I'm a big Sam & Max fan, I would say not. I really wish they would remake this game. I think they can make it look really cool. The pro here, it's another classic. I mean, if you've been against me and was loving the whole Monkey Island, Indiana Jones, you got Sam & Max. You are happy. You have gotten a lot of point-and-click games that you probably remember from childhood, or experiencing old PC games. The con here, obviously it's a dated game, and it feels like it. Even though the comedy wasn't too dated, I laughed a couple times, so it was still pretty good writing. Next up, speaking of Telltale, we got Puzzle Agent. It was a game I remember seeing before and never got to play, so I was kind of excited to see this one. I got 70 on Metacritic, looking at $5 with 4 hours of gameplay. And like I said, this is a puzzle game, but it's like more of a story where puzzles are mini games through here. I will note I had a lot of problems to get this game to run. I didn't record it because it kept showing my desktop, but the game would start and I could open it, maximize it, and every 5 seconds it would minimize. So I had to go through settings, I had to get it off of full screen. Some reason my computer didn't like full screen, and was able to finally capture, but that was a real blocker. I think some people, if they try to play this and that happens to them, they're not going to continue, especially a free game. So that was kind of annoying. But you play as Tethers from the FBI puzzle group, and you go to Skoshkins to figure out a problem with the eraser factory. So very odd story, up to the Telltale, even the Sam and Max kind of thing. So these two games actually do work together. Simple graphics at work. It looks like a coloring book, kind of, but I enjoyed the look of the game, actually. The puzzles were okay. Nothing too complicated. A lot of simple things that you probably played in games before, even like educational games, I felt some of them were from. And the system they graded you was pretty cool. You submit it, and you had pay taxpayers money, and if you get it wrong, you get to resubmit and cost more money. And you get a hint system, which is okay. I tried it on one puzzle, and it was a little helpful, but I felt like they kind of just gave stuff away on like the third hint. It was like, the answer's this. But overall, I enjoyed this, actually. The story was so odd that I was kind of entertained and was curious what happened to this eraser factory. The puzzles, like I said, I just felt like they were mini games. They were just added on. I felt like they almost made the story and then just added puzzles. So, and they kind of made it sync up, so it wasn't like too off crazy, but they just felt like add-ons. But I don't know, I did like the story. I would say download. It was a unique game for the time of the puzzle game with the story, so that was a plus. The con here, it is going to feel very mini-gamey, so if you don't like that, you will probably not like this one either. But I will preface, I'm a Telltale fan, so a lot of their games, obviously, if you've been watching these, usually gets a download from me. Next up, we have Unmemory, which came out last year in 2020. Looking at a Metacritic score that was not determined yet, so not many people actually got to review this. About $10 and 4 hours of gameplay, and I call this a scroller adventure. Reason why I have kind of my own genre is this is an interactive PDF game. As you can see here, it's reading, and you get these images that you can interact with. And you go back and forth scrolling through it to mess with these objects. So you'll get like a phone in the first chapter, and you have to go back to the phone to dial a number or answer it. There is audio in this game that comes up, so it's interesting. It's very unique. And you're trying to figure out what happened here. Your main character lost his memory and trying to piece stuff together. You kind of wake up and it's like this murder scene that you have happening. And you're just trying to figure out what happened. Like, you as the player, you don't even have a clue what's happening. It's very different, but the story did grab me with this uniqueness. And you're trying to piece together his memory and you start getting flashbacks, which I did like. The negative I had was some of the interactions. So you have a mobile phone, which is shown here, and to dial it, like I couldn't click the numbers. I have to click these left, right arrows, and if you had to hit 9, you had to go all the way back to 3. And it's just not a great interface, but overall, very, very unique game. I did enjoy it. So I would say a download. For a free game, I recommend trying this. It's different. And that's pretty much the pro for me. It's very different. It's a mystery. I didn't feel like the puzzles were overly hard. So that was good. The con here is if you work reading PDFs or Word docs all day, you're probably going to really hate this game because you're like going to feel like it's work. You're just reading again. So if that doesn't suit you, you can skip this one. So now we're kind of going to more party games or platformers now for the last two, and this game is called Tools Up. That's up next. That came out in 2019 and got a Metacritic score of 62, looking at about $20 with 7 hours of gameplay. And this is a home improvement game. So if immediately, everyone, if you played Moving Out or Overcooked, you know the look and kind of the idea of this party game. But this one takes the different approach of you're doing home improvements. You're laying down carpet, setting tile, painting walls, taking out old carpet. So it's that kind of style. There's 30 levels in the main game. There is DLC available. Not sure how that works with Prime Gaming, if you could just buy it from Steam if you're interested. But like I said, it looks like any other party game with this overhead camera, this cartoony look, goofy characters. So we've seen this, but this is a unique twist that I actually enjoyed. The difficulty here was not like the other ones. I didn't feel like it moved up rampantly quick and made it hard. I was able to do a lot on single player, where like Overcooked, I had problems getting too far in single player. So I kind of actually liked this thing because it made it seem like anyone can kind of play it more versus Overcooked, which fun to yell at your friends, but it is stressful if people don't really play games much and you got a lot going on. So I did feel they were trying to fit to everybody. I enjoyed this new twist. I was having fun with it. I don't think it matches the games I was comparing to. I would recommend them over this, but free and having a party game, download. Like I said, the pro here, it is fun to play with a couple people. The con here is if you are kind of getting tired of this Overcooked. I'm saying Overcooked because that was the first game of this kind of genre that I remember. And there's a lot of games that are coming out this, so you might be getting a little tired of it. It's reminding me of like the World War II games for shooters. We've seen this style of game. They're adding a little bit, but it is getting old. And if you're tired of that, you'll probably skip this game. Last up, we have Candleman. A very unique title. This one intrigued me just looking at the thumbnail. This came out in 2018, 76 on Metacritic. Shockingly enough, it's a $3 game. I wasn't expecting that for the graphics, looking at it here. But you are looking at 2 hours of gameplay for this platformer. I did have puzzle platformer, but it's more of a physics platformer. You start out as a candle who's trying to figure out its purpose to shine light, and he ends up, or she ends up, seeing a lighthouse and wants to be bright and light up the world. So you're kind of getting to that. You're on this like abandoned ship or sunken ship because there's water throughout. So it's an interesting level, and obviously candle light. The levels are playing a lot on light. You have a limited amount of light you can shine from your candle, because if you start your flame, obviously the wax is going to melt from you. So you can only do it so long, and light and dark comes into the level. So it's a lot of playing with that. Physics-based, there's these little water floating things on the water that I couldn't make a jump, shown here. I tried a couple times. I was confused, and then I was like, maybe I'm too heavy. So I burnt my candle down to a little less than half, and I could make the jump. So it's kind of playing a little bit on the physics as well, which makes it unique. Also, the level has something extra where there's X number of candles to light, and you'll get majority of them following the main path, but there's always like 2 or so that's a little difficult to get, and difficult not meaning they're extremely hard, but they are a little hidden more. And if you get all those, you get a little more text to figure out the story. So not a big reward, but it is satisfying to get all the candles on the level. And overall, I did enjoy this a lot, and I like the concept of your candle running around, so download. It was a nice touch to be a candle in a platformer, with the added effect of light and the amount of time you can burn your candle. The con here is the length. It is on the short side, and you'll burn through the chapters very fast. There's usually like 4 or 3 levels, and the levels, I mean, you could complete in probably a couple minutes, so you're going to burn through this game pretty fast, so some people might not find it worth the time to download. So overall, I liked 4 games. We're getting back to games I'm starting to like. I know everyone's opinion's different. The point and click stuff's been a little for me, but I know there's people out there that's probably enjoying this. Like I said, Sam and Max, you got a high level classic point and click game, so I'm sure people are liking that. Let me know in the comments if there's games you disagree with, some of my opinions. But overall, I did like the later games here. Puzzle Agent, I could see people on the fence of. Unmemory was unique. You could tell I'm a big fan of something that makes a very unique game to me. If it's unique and enjoyable, I'm going to recommend as a download, because that's where I find useful these free games, is playing something you would never played before. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next month. Peace.